I think you could now. I think you could hear me, right? I think you hear me now. All right, let's start over, shall we? Um, make sure. Hold on. Let me make sure. You hear me, Audie? Just to make sure. I hate OBS. Ah, there we go. Cool. Anyways, welcome to Military History Chronicles. I'm doing a live stream today. Talk about some of the events that's going on out there. Specifically, what's going on over in Syria, there in the Middle East. The Assad regime is no longer in power. Sounds like he is safely in Russia. But here, let me turn this up a little bit. How about there? Is that better? I can also go turn up the gain on my mic as well, too. How about that, Audie? Better? Want to make sure I'm good to go before I keep going into this. Is it still too quiet, or is it better? I got it pretty maxed out, so I'm not sure if I think I can do this. Okay, good. But Assad is now safely in Russia under the care of Putin. Now, again, what's going to happen in Syria? Woo! I know there's a lot of celebrations going on out there. I get it. I understand. The Assad regime was very repressive. So yes, it should be better for the country in the short term. But what does this mean in the long term? Again, we got a power vacuum in a pretty volatile area there in that part of the world. You got and you got so many different factions. You got Christians, you got Kurdish people, you got jihadists. I mean, it's just of course you got Assad loyalists, but I think those guys are by the wayside now. But there is a lot of moving pieces that's going to be occurring there in Syria, and if we're not careful, it could get a little bit weird, just a little bit weird. For example, here, let's take a look at this. As a matter of fact, yeah. Hold on, before I get to that. Look at this newspaper from the 1990s. It's up in the right hand corner. I think that says 1993. Anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace. Who is that a picture of? Who is that a picture of? Yeah, that was that's Osama bin Laden. Hold on, let me see. I think it's I don't think I got it all the way. Make sure I get it all there. No, I think it's all there. Is it all in there? Make sure. There we go. Make sure I get it all. But yeah, there you go. That is Osama bin Laden. And as you said, or as they got there, it says the anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace. Well, what kind of peace happened there? Yeah, we all know what happened after the Soviet Union had left Afghanistan. You started having Afghanistan being used as a place where terrorists can not only be safe from persecution, but they can also plot out whatever they want to plot. And yeah, so again, does it mean that's what's going to happen in Syria? No, not at all. Just saying, hey, you got to be careful on what's going on over there in Syria, for the simple fact that you just don't know. They could have all the right intentions as they want, but if it doesn't work, man, it could turn into something really ugly. And that's something that the whole world's going to have to keep an eye on. Yeah, you know what? Let's get into an article. H.R. McMaster had a nice speech. He at the U.S. National Security, or former U.S. National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster delivers remarks on Syria at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. Let's hear what the journal has to say. I like to hear what he has to say. He's usually spot on about this kind of stuff. So let's see what's going on. Again, these are remarks prepared and delivered by the United States National Security Advisor at the Holocaust Museum. This is back. Look at this. This is back in 2018, guys. 2018 is when he wrote this. So again, we're kind of going back in time a little bit. All right, it's an honor to include today's event as we mark the 7th anniversary of the start of the Syrian Civil War. That civil war has been going on for a very long time, talking about in Syria. And it's the 25th anniversary at that time of the Holocaust Museum. This afternoon, we are privileged to be joined by many Holocaust survivors, including Irene Weiss, who will share her story of courage and resilience later in the program. Irene, we're all glad. Okay, let's get through this. Hold on. Okay. I want to get into the good stuff here. Okay. They're talking about the Holocaust stuff, but I want to get into the serious. All right, here we go. Unfortunately, today in Syria, we are confronted once more with some of the worst atrocities known to man. A matter of fact, guys, for those of you who don't know, they're starting to get to some of these cells that were uncovered. It's a bunch of Assad's jails where he imprisoned a lot of people, and supposedly it's pretty bad. I think we're going to get some really awful news coming out of Syria, and when they start uncovering who is in these cells and the type of conditions that they were living in. Anyways, well, let's get into this. This war has now raged on for 7 years. Again, this is back in 2018. The Assad regime has killed indiscriminately, tortured, starved, raped, and used chemical weapons on its own people. And I think a lot of people remember the chemical weapons. Remember the whole red line stuff from President Obama? Yeah, that was because of the chemical weapons that were being used on his own people. It has attacked hospitals, schools, and countless Syrians have been arrested, abducted, or have simply disappeared. And ISIS has kidnapped, tortured, and murdered, brutally persecuted religious minorities, and committed unspeakable horrors, such as burning victims alive in cages. A lot of that footage was coming out back during that time. It was pretty horrific. ISIS is another entity. It kind of took over the place of Al-Qaeda, and the United States have been fighting them. Matter of fact, the U.S. Undertook some actions today. Some B-52s, F-15s, and A-10s. They all participated in attacking some ISIS targets within Syria earlier today. The Syria exhibit here at the Holocaust Museum, which I visited in January, details these horrifying crimes through photographs, film, first-person accounts, and other documentary evidence. It is estimated that nearly 500,000 people have perished since the war begun. Whew! Again, this is back in 2018. I'm sure that number has grown. In February alone, nearly 1,400 civilians have died. The conflict has created over 5 million refugees and over 6 million displaced persons. A lot of these refugees are also in Europe, which has created some issues on the continent. Today, I want to tell you that the United States has taken action to protect innocent Syrians, defeat ISIS, and hold the Assad regime and its sponsors accountable for their crimes. First, like so many in the room today, we are documenting atrocities. The United States is declassifying intelligence that exposes Assad's horrific crimes. In May of last year, President Trump released images that we believe depict a crematorium at one of the regime's prisons, likely installed to hide evidence of mass murder. Our administration is also helping to fund an international, impartial, independent mechanism created by the United Nations General Assembly. The IIIM's mission is to collect and analyze evidence of international humanitarian law and human rights violations in Syria and prepare this evidence for independent criminal proceedings. Well, it doesn't matter now because he's no longer in fight. I should say he's no longer the leader of Syria. But good luck trying to get him out of Russia. We are also proud to support the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Syrian Arab Republic. This independent and impartial commission documents serious human rights abuses committed by all parties to the conflict. Second, we are fighting alongside partners such as the Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF. Again, that was been part of the forces that overthrew the Assad regime just recently, to defeat terrorist organizations. This coalition to defeat ISIS has now liberated almost 100% of territory previously held by these terrorists in Iraq and Syria. We have made immense progress alongside allies and partners over the past year, but we have more work to do. The United States will continue to pursue these murderers until ISIS is completely defeated. Population centers are stabilized and refugees can safely return home. Maybe that starts happening now, since Assad is now no longer running the country. Third, we're providing humanitarian aid to the people who need it the most, the victims. The United States has provided over $7.6 billion to assist Syrians both in and outside Syria. We are sending our assistance in two directions: to Syrian refugees and to areas liberated from ISIS. The United States and our partners will not provide reconstruction funding to areas controlled by the Assad regime until there is a political transition away from Assad's rule. Well, the time has now come. Fourth, we are working to protect innocent civilians from chemical attacks. As a matter of fact, the IDF is, they're undertaking that very mission. They are attacking many of the areas where there is weapons storage areas in Syria, and the IDF are destroying them, so that these chemical weapons that may exist or probably exist in Syria cannot be turned over to people who may not have the most honorable intentions with those weapons. So IDF right now is taking care of that specific mission. Again, because of the quick collapse. I mean, and that's something we'll get into here. I mean, it's unbelievable how quick that this unfolded. And to hold Assad accountable for using these heinous weapons. These past 4 years have marked another anniversary, the 100th anniversary of World War I. Again, this is back in 2018 when he gave this speech. In the aftermath of that horrible war, nations came together and agreed not to use chemical weapons again. Assad's continued use of these weapons threatens to undo all the progress we have made since the end of that terrible war. All right. Following Assad's April 4th, 2017 sarin attack on innocents, President Trump launched a powerful missile strike on the Syrian airbase from which this attack originated, destroying 20% of the Syrian Air Force. Our actions send an unmistakable message. Using these horrific weapons is never acceptable, and we will hold perpetrators accountable. The United States is supporting the organization for the prohibition of chemical weapons in their efforts to compel Assad to fully dismantle his chemical weapons. All right. Unfortunately, many of these life-saving efforts to resolve the conflict, defeat ISIS, and deliver humanitarian aid and deter chemical weapons attacks are impeded by the Assad regime's sponsors in Tehran and Moscow. All civilized nations must hold Iran and Russia accountable for their role in enabling atrocities and perpetuating human suffering in Syria. Across the greater Middle East, Iran is proliferating dangerous weapons, fueling sectarian violence, and supporting terrorist proxies and militias such as Hezbollah. This regime proudly chants death to America and death to Israel. It further offends the conscience of every human being by denying the Holocaust. All right. Since 2012, Iran has provided over $16 billion to the Assad regime and other proxies in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Tehran is also transporting foreign Shiite militias and weapons from Iran to Syria on illegal flights, including on Iranian civilian airlines. This is very interesting. We'll get into that more. Iran's goal is to secure a permanent military foothold into Syria, which would threaten Israel, undermine U.S. interests, and strengthen the terrorist proxy forces that Iran uses to weaken Arab states and foment violence. Cannot let this happen. All responsible nations must take action to counter Iran's destabilizing activities in Syria and across the region. All right. I think, let's see. It says, sadly, Iran is not Assad's only sponsor. Russia is also complicit in Assad's atrocities. The Russian government has bombed civilian areas and provided political cover for Assad's crimes. Furthermore, Russia has done nothing to encourage Assad to ensure delivery of humanitarian aid, respect ceasefires and de-escalation agreements, or comply with the UN Security Council Resolutions 2254's call for a UN-monitored political process. From February 24th to 28th, Russia conducted 20 bombing missions every day in the eastern, I don't even know what that says, Ghouta and Damascus areas of Syria. Russia has also repeatedly thwarted efforts by the OPCW to hold the Assad regime accountable for using chemical weapons. All right, what do we got here? Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll just end it there. That's fine. And that will be it kind of covers exactly what I want to do there. But yeah, I'm telling you guys, we'll see what happens. This is a big blow both to Russia and I think H.R. McMaster really covered that nicely when he was talking about exactly the role of Iran and Russia, because they have played an immense role in what's going on there within Syria. And it's interesting because it's a blow to both of them, especially for Russia, because they want to be looked upon as like the guarantees or the guarantors of what's going on in Syria. Not only that, they have a foothold in that region. They've always wanted to have a foothold in that region. If you look back into some of the Cold War history, you could see that they've always wanted to have a voice within the Middle East. So again, Russia has propped up Syria, Iran has propped up Syria, and they've seen some better times, compared to that speech that HR gave back in 2018. Look what's happened to Iran. Hezbollah has been absolutely it's no longer even a functioning organization to a certain extent. The IDF has taken care of that. Hamas, who is also sponsored by Iran, is again in the same type of predicament. Iran has been neutered by Israel by some of those strikes, so now they are vulnerable to more attacks. So if they want to proceed down the same path of trying to threaten Israel, well, guess what? There's going to be further action that's going to be taken. And then now look what's going on in Syria. Now Syria has fallen. I'm talking about specifically the Assad regime. And again, that guy was backed by Iran and Russia. And what's unique is ever since October 7th, look what has happened. Hamas, again, gone. Hezbollah, pretty much gone. All the leaders of both of those organizations have been decimated. There's no longer a functioning leadership within either of those organizations. And I explained to you about with Iran, but it's unique because there's another thing in here that I want to bring up. Let me find it first. It's another good article that I had saw right before we came online here. Which one was it? Right here. Let's go. Oh, yes, this is a good one. Let me bring it up. Make sure it shows. There we go. Cool. I think that should be good enough. All right. Let's see what this says. This is the Institute for the Study of War. Russia's inability or decision to not reinforce Assad's regime as the Syrian opposition offensive made rapid gains throughout the country will also hurt Russia's credibility as a reliable and effective security partner throughout the world, which will in turn negatively affect Putin's ability to garner support for his desired multipolar world. Again, this is going to be very unique in the fact that Putin has these grandiose ideas of acting as a world power. The only reason why they're considered quote unquote a world power now is just because he's got nuclear weapons. If it wasn't for nuclear weapons, would they be a superpower? Probably not. But if you look what's going on, what does that look like? It's funny because it's almost exactly opposite of what happened. America's or the United States credibility took a significant hit with the pullout out of Afghanistan, right? We looked pretty damn weak. I shouldn't say looked. It was a weak move. It just a lot of what's going on in the world today can be attributed to what happened in Afghanistan. Is it the only reason? No, absolutely not. But it didn't help. But now look what's going on with Russia. Now Russia's suffering some of the similar type of setbacks, if you will. If you got a regime that's been propped up by Russia, talking about Assad's regime in Syria, now they got some egg on their face. And how are they gonna to spin this? Who knows? Who knows? But it looks bad for Russia. I mean, you remember the what was it that Putin said? He was going to be able to take over Ukraine in 3 days, something like that. And now here we going on 3 years at a devastating cost to both countries. Ukraine and Russia have both suffered because of one man's decision to invade a sovereign country for absolutely no damn reason other than to expand his influence and relive the glory days. look what happened in Syria. So you got Putin making these grandiose statements. Ukraine will fall in 3 days. But look what happened in Syria. 11 days. 11 days. And that regime has totally crumbled. Again, Assad is now in Russia. There was reports last night, supposedly, that he may have, that his plane may have crashed, was shot down. But that wasn't the case. So it sounds like he's in Russia with his family. But how does that look for Russia? You can't beat the Ukrainians, and now you've suffered a significant loss in the Middle East and Syria. Now they are no longer a force to be reckoned with in that region. IDF is now, strategically speaking, in a much safer position. You don't have to worry about the Hezbollah and Assad to the north. In Gaza, you don't have to worry about Hamas so much anymore because they've been eradicated. Hezbollah in Lebanon is in the same position. So it's quite interesting to see how all this has panned out. And look, we're talking, if you just want to go back to after what happened on October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel in October of 2023. Here we are now, December of 2024. Within what is that, 14 months, you have the elimination of Hamas and its leaders, the elimination of Hezbollah and its leaders. Assad is now out of Syria. Russia has lost control. Iran has lost control. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what is going on. What's up, Cryptic? Yeah, what is up? Good to see you, Cryptic. Yeah, world's tearing itself apart, right? It's kind of a good thing, with what's going on in Syria. It's good in a way that you got Assad out of there, but you got to be careful. And I talked about this at the top of the show. There's a huge power vacuum. Who is going to fill that vacuum? That's going to be the key, because you got to be careful, because even though Assad was absolutely horrendous God, what's the word you want to find? He was just heinous. I guess that's the best word. That's what HR used. What would replace him? Syria. Now Syria is unique in the fact that it has. You got to get Iran. Yeah. Well, Iran's been gotten, and I kind of talked about this already. Cryptic is, Syria was being propped up by both Iran and Russia. So it's a loss on both Iran and Russia, and it's funny because. The IDF is also helping us in a way, being able to take care of some of that stuff. Iran kept trying to fly in reinforcements into Syria, and IDF kept turning those planes away. Otherwise, be threatened to be shot down. They had to turn around and go back to Iran. That's happened on numerous occasions, which is incredible. You got the IDF who are now striking weapons depots where they're storing weapons, where Syria was storing their weapons. And they're eliminating those so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands, especially the chemical weapons. So it's quite unique in how all this is really panning out. Honestly, everyone thought everything is going to go to hell in a handbasket in the Middle East, and to be honest with you, even though there's been fighting, Israel is taking care of business. Look what's going on. Do you think that let's say what was the threat against Israel pre-October 7th, and where is it now post-October 7th? I would say that it's much safer for Israel today than it has been in probably a very long time. Iran isn't what it's used to be. Russia not only is being depleted in Ukraine, but they couldn't even, they're being depleted in Ukraine so much they can't even project their power in Syria to back their guy that they've been backing since what, 2015? Isn't that when Russia got involved? I think Russia got involved in Syria in around 2015, in that time frame. So it's looking really bad for Russia. It's looking really bad for Iran, and it's looking really good for Israel and the rest of the world. So again, let's see how this is going to pan out. It's going to be very unique. Like I said, it's something that you want to keep your eye on as far as what is going to transpire in Syria. Here, let's talk a little bit more about this real quick while I have it up. The rapid collapse of the Assad regime in Syria, a regime that the Kremlin helped prop up since 2015. Holy crap, that was pretty good. Okay, so I didn't even read this, guys. Just going off the top of the brain there. It is a strategic political defeat for Moscow and has thrown the Kremlin into crisis as it seeks to retain its strategic military basing in Syria. That ain't going to happen. Russia intervened on the behalf of the former Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, in 2015 in order to secure Assad's regime after mass protests began in 2011 as part of the larger Arab Spring movement, which triggered the Syrian civil war and threatened to oust Assad. Russian President Vladimir Putin has long viewed the color revolutions that ushered in new democratic governments in former Soviet states as a threat to his own regime's stability and security. Putin has also more widely opposed democratic movements to oust Kremlin-allied authoritarian rulers worldwide, as he views these movements as hindering his efforts to create his envisioned multipolar world where Russia and Russia's key authoritarian allies, we all know who that is, and partners play a major role. Russia's inability or decision to not reinforce Assad's regime as the Syrian opposition offensive became rapid gains throughout the country will also hurt Russia's credibility as a reliable and effective security partner throughout the world, which will, in turn, negatively affect Putin's ability to garner support throughout the world for his desired multi-polar world. It's a loss, man. It's a huge loss for Putin. Man, that is something. Who saw this coming? And it's incredible because I'll never forget the Arab Spring in 2011. As a matter of fact, I was deployed during that time, but it wasn't in support of any of that stuff. I was actually in country on a deployment, on a 4-month deployment, and that stuff kicked off, which was incredible because we were all watching what was unfolding before us. Because you had Libya was what was it? Libya. I know Egypt was like in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was around that time. No, it wasn't. Yeah, Egypt, Libya, a lot of the North African Muslim countries, they all had their quote unquote Arab Spring. I mean, it was absolutely incredible what was happening in the world during that time. Matter of fact, that the whole the Libya thing, man, that got a lot of people involved. That got NATO involved, if I'm not mistaken. Other Muslim countries were also deploying in support of freeing that country. It was just very unique in how that all transpired. But Syria, that was part of it, and that's where that Syrian civil war began. That's when, as the Institute for what was that? Institute for the Study of War was alluding to. But there's a lot of factions in Syria. I mean, that's why they had that civil war. Again, it wasn't just one. It wasn't just the people uprising against Assad. You had multiple different people. You had ISIS. You had the Kurdish rebels. You had just the normal Syrian rebels. If you want to say, I mean, if that's something you want to say, normal Syrian rebels. But they came from different walks of life, different type of religious backgrounds. So again, it's gonna be very unique to see how this all transpires. Again, it's just part of the world we're living in today. A lot of chaos out there. But it's not to the point of where it's going to be. Is it, quote unquote, a detriment to the rest of the world? Not so much. This is more of a detriment to Russia and Iran specifically. People who are still coming out smelling like roses is China. China wasn't involved in that. I'm sure maybe I wouldn't be surprised if they had their fingerprints somewhere in that, but I doubt it. It's probably mostly Russia. And again, Russia keeps taking these losses, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Anyways, I knew there wasn't going to be a whole lot of people on. I'm probably just going to be closing it out this one here soon. Everyone's probably still watching NFL football, and I know, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on out there as far as baseball. You'll be catching me later on tonight, 8 o'clock, Giant Sports Talk Live, be talking more baseball, so that'll be a lot of fun. That seems to be the things going on today. All right, hold on. Let me see. Make sure there's nothing else going on out here. All right. Hit this. There we go. Here, let me mess with this, see where we're at. All right, cool. All right. Oh, where you at, Cryptic? Hey, appreciate it, though, Cryptic. No worries. Yeah, I'm going on a little bit early because, man, we're going to probably go until 10:30, somewhere around there. And after doing that, I don't feel like coming on and doing this for another hour. So that's why I came on a little bit early. Anyways, you guys could catch this. I mean, even though I'm live right now, you could always catch the broadcast a little bit later. That's the beauty of YouTube. How'd your Raiders do today, Cryptic, by the way? I haven't been keeping up on what's going on. I'm just, again, not a football guy. Baseball guy is where I'm at. All right. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys hanging out for me for just a little bit. Thought we'd talk a little bit about what's going on in Syria. We'll probably have another broadcast here. Who knows when? Who knows when, man? I don't even know, to be honest with you. A lot of stuff going on in baseball because of the closer to the number one pick. Nice. Yeah, because of all the stuff that's going on with the offseason, man, that's big news right now. So, heck, we could go on anytime. Thanks, Audie. Appreciate it. Hey, we'll see you over there on Giant Sports Talk Live. All right, guys. Until then, have a good rest of your Sunday night. See ya.